Welcome to Into the Unknown with Mike and John, Season 2, Episode 10.
10?
10! Today, Mike...
I pulled a John.
Yes, that's what I was hoping for. Today, Mike takes us to the banks of the mighty Susquehanna, where we meet a local cryptid and noted apple thief, the sweet Albatwitch. I'm John Fitzpatrick.
And I'm Mike Duber.
Mike!
Hey.
You're going to give us a cryptid?
Yeah.
I'm usually the cryptid guy.
Well, okay. So there's I'll give you a little backstory and then we'll jump right in.
Yeah,
I
go
know
ahead.
We don't like to linger too long, but I have a personal story, and I felt kind of strangely earlier in season 1. I had bleeped myself. I think it was during the UFO, the DC Flap episode. And I thought,
So.
and I didn't want to spoil my story, which is why I bleeped myself. But then I thought, oh, people are going to think we're being dramatic. And I will tell you right
Us? Dramatic? Never.
now. Well, I didn't want to do it under false pretenses. I bleeped it because I didn't want to ruin the story. But at the same time, I realized it's not that big a deal. But on the other hand, maybe it is. But you decide. You decide. So at the end of this Albatwitch episode, I'm going to give you my personal story. So stick around.
Okay.
Man, you didn't expect
so
this.
excited.
Yeah,
You gave me shivers.
You're too nice. Thanks for the support. If you've never heard of the Columbia, Pennsylvania Albatwitch, you are not alone. I came across this story while searching for other information in southern Pennsylvania, where my personal experience happened. So there's a little insight there. Now, to be clear for our Maryland listeners, the Columbia I am referring to is a town just southeast of Harrisburg and northeast of York on the Susquehanna River. And John will know that I have parenthetical note of water feature, and hearkening back to our missing fur.
There's a water feature. I'm betting there's a
water.
rock field
and guess
somewhere.
what, John? Nearby, there is an ocean. It's about 60
It's on
miles.
the other side
Yeah, there's a
of the
Pacific.
state of New Jersey.
Just wanted to point that out. There are water features all around. And on the opposite side of the globe, there's the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Okay, so it's not the central Maryland Columbia. This is the Columbia of southern Pennsylvania. Now, the fact that there are many other cryptids on evidence in this specific area perhaps is no surprise to some, but we're going to get to that. So let's introduce today's featured cryptid. Da-da-da. Are we ready?
Again.
I know. I can see you over there. You're just like,
I feel the electricity.
I need a new sound effect of rolling eyeballs.
For featured cryptid?
Yeah. Well, actually, this is your wheelhouse. I wanted to point out to the listeners that, most of them come from John's own library.
Yeah.
Not mine.
I had to go find information about this one so I could feel like I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm so eager to see where you go, and we can make connections to some other cryptids that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I cover it pretty pedestrian.
Okay.
Give it a pretty pedestrian
No,
treatment.
I'm sure this is grade A class.
It's just coincident with my the location, which is why I decided to tell my story here. So anyway, so the Albatwitch is a 4-foot-tall, hairy ape humanoid. So think Sasquatch, but half as tall. And like our hairy hominid from the Sykesville Monster episode, the Albatwitch of Columbia, Pennsylvania is thought to be a species distinct from Sasquatch, and not a single individual. Additionally, the articles are clear that is not just a juvenile Sasquatch, based on its morphology, where, aside from the obvious height differences, the Albatwitch has more of a neck, and it is skinnier, more human-like proportions. So here I have a little sidebar written. I remember thinking as a kid when we talked about the Sasquatch, or, Bigfoot was definitely what we used as the term. I always thought it was, like there's one and one only. And I always thought it weird, like, well, how can it be in California and then also turn up in Maryland or something? And that's why I always felt strangely about it. Like, is it is it turning up
Like-
in lots of places? It
Like
never occurred
like
to
it
me.
rides the rails.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just think like Black Aggie, it's unique. There's
unique,
one,
yeah.
right? But
That's
no.
that's certainly not the way it's currently presented. So I guess
Yeah.
I think somewhere along the way, a lot of people gave up that same impression, and it's more of a priority now to when they discuss their bigfooting, their squatching, to make it clear that they're talking about
A species,
family
But,
units.
Yeah, I'm just recalling as
males
a
and
kid, it was like there was
females.
one.
Yeah.
And because it was like Bigfoot, and to me that was like there was only one, and that was confusing for a while.
Well,
but I also wasn't paying attention to it
Maybe
as a kid,
he's-
really.
Maybe he's king of the road.
He's a tramp, riding
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
on the tramp steamer and riding the rails.
Riding
And
the
oh
rails.
yeah, right, I got you. Yeah. Now it's believed the species lives in and around the Columbia, Pennsylvania area, and specifically near Chickies Rock. So there's your boulders.
Boulders.
See
Yeah,
that?
I saw that come up when I started, looking on YouTube
Yeah.
for videos about the Albatwitch. Everybody was talking about chickies.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yep.
Chickies?
Chickies Rock.
It's Chickies Rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll drop a map pin to show in the show notes to show you where this is. I mean, you can't miss it. You just search, Google Maps for Chickies Rock, and it'll come right up. Now, these diminutive folk are purportedly fond of apples. In fact, the name Albatwitch is thought to derive from a Pennsylvania Dutch English compound word meaning apple snitch. Now, they are a mischievous group with a habit of not only stealing apples, but sitting in the trees and throwing the fruit at people who get too close.
It's so adorable.
Sound like jerks.
Yeah, well, adorable jerks.
They're adorable jerks. They're like
4 foot-
Ewoks.
They're like yeah.
They're like
4
Pennsylvania
feet tall,
Ewoks. And they
throwing
sing
apples.
these really horrible songs that eventually,
Yum, yum.
oh God, don't.
By the way, this is not for even with among the Sasquatch stories, them being associated with some kind of fruit patch, a berry patch, and in fact, people often part of the story is stay away from the berry patch, or in this case, the apple trees, because you could get in trouble with the.
I've heard of a lot of the stories with Sasquatch where you leave them something and they leave something behind for
offerings?
you, like
Yeah.
a fish, or the story goes you leave them 2 fish and they'll leave one for you, like we'll share it, right? The idea that Sasquatch is equitable. So anyway, my goodness, right? So that's pretty specific, right? That they steal apples and then they pelt you with the fruit. Well, these stories go back to the 1800s. Now, legend has it that these critters terrorized picnickers at Chickies Rock in the 1800s by, you guessed it, stealing their apples and then pelting them with the cores. So, and this is very smart, like eat the fruit and then throw the apple core, right? Instead of the whole apple. Yeah. So as for the tree dwelling, they are believed to live mostly in them, in the trees. It's also said, surprise, surprise, they prefer to keep to the shadows, but not necessarily quietly. They make their presence known by making a particular sound. Now, it's been likened to the sound of a cracking whip, or a trap snapping shut, like in the Thomas Messick case.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see where you're
or
going
in
with
the
that.
case of Lon Strickler.
In the mechanical
The
sound.
mechanical sound.
Yep.
Now, I don't teeth chattering. So how often are these little guys seen or heard? Little guys or gals? I didn't get a sense of whether there's if they're a species,
there's
there's
gotta be guys and
there's
gals.
guys and gals, but they don't talk about pendulous breasts or anything, or
Where's the
very
penny?
visible junk. At least no one's looking. I don't know. Maybe they have little gym shorts on. Who knows? Now, as it turns out, okay, back on track, Mike.
They just sound so adorable.
They really are. And I'm trying to make this fun because you know what? It is. So as it turns out, seeing one is relatively rare, or as we would expect. But sightings have gone up in recent years with about 60 documented cases on record. That's a pretty good number.
Okay.
So let's look at one. Now, I ran across this sighting from April 2024. I mean, that is pretty recent.
Year and a half. That's
Yeah.
not bad. Okay.
And so this particular sighting occurred on the evening of Saturday, April 13th. April.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a weird sort of Freudian
Apples
mispronunciation.
Okay. Apples come in the fall.
Yes.
We harvest them in the fall.
This was April 13th, 2024 in Lancaster Conservancy's Fishing Creek Nature Preserve. So I'll pin this as well, but if I recall, it's a little bit further south than Columbia, but still it's in the area. On that evening, the witness began hearing strange, unnerving noises echoing from across the creek. They persisted all evening and were accompanied by the distinct odor of wet dog. They suspected something was hurled at them at one point, and although it was difficult to ascertain what it was. So although it doesn't say one way or the other, I wonder if they looked for an apple core. But rock hurling is a common experience for Sasquatch experiencers.
Yes.
Okay. Now, at one point in the evening, the witness ventured out to relieve himself while the companion waited in the car. The headlights were on and cast an eerie glow. Then he caught sight of it. A monkey-like face peered from behind a slender tree only 10 feet away. It was pale, with dark eyes, and it gazed directly back at the witness. Now, the witness attested he was making sounds like disbelief, like, "Oh my God!" presumably loudly because he remarked the creature remained motionless, unperturbed by the noise, its expression neither hostile nor agitated. Now suddenly it ducked behind the tree. Now the slender tree was just about a foot wide, and to the witness it seemed improbable it could be hiding something of its size. So that was sort of the weird impression of the witness, right? He was yelling and, remarking, "Oh my gosh," but it didn't seem to perturb this little thing. It didn't
So
scare
he was
it.
making noise.
The witness was making.
So this is the natural human reaction of holy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
This is the holy shit.
Am I seeing that?
What the hell
What
is that?
Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's interesting that wouldn't disturb an animal, but maybe the natural reaction is to freeze in much the same way that one time I was driving through the parking lot at work and came across a wild turkey.
Oh, yeah.
And the turkey's natural reaction, of course, is to sit because typically it's out in a field and the grass would hide it.
Just hold still.
But even in the parking lot, it went with the natural reaction of sitting and holding still. So maybe this is similar.
Yeah,
Even
well,
though
it could be.
Interesting.
Albatwitch could be working on, its earliest survival instincts.
Right.
Now, at that moment, the witness had the wherewithal to look for evidence. I note this as a way to suggest or wonder about the lack of the Oz effect. He checked the area but found no sign of the critter. But what persisted was the wet dog smell.
Also interesting.
And his buddy confirmed this. So they both detected the smell. Mm-hmm. Finally, we get the detail that the estimated height was just under 3 feet. Now, that's a foot shorter than the 4-foot Albatwitch, which I find interesting. But it's close enough. I mean, you're in the dark. There's an eerie glow. It's,
we're not all the same
3 feet,
size.
4 feet. Yeah.
Either.
No. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 3 feet, 4 feet. Okay.
Yeah. Now, I'll link to the story as there are photos taken from an investigation by an Albatwitch investigator, Rick Fisher, who presumably got a hold of the story quickly enough to go out and look for himself. Now, he found some interesting tracks within a mile of the sighting, but all of this is inconclusive, and the article says as much. Now, Rick Fisher does have a book out there, like Lon Strickler.
Okay.
He's had his own encounter and is now writing about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to look this up. I might need an Albatwitch book in the collection.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it.
Why not?
Chicken egg on this guy. I haven't looked closely into Rick. It sounds like you're going to take that on. That'd be fine. But his book looks interesting, and I think John should pick it up. I'm remembering because I wrote this a while ago.
Well, actually,
hey, John, pick up that book.
Yeah, well, Julie and I may be going up to the Midtown Scholar in Harrisburg next weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll look in their extensive section on the paranormal and see if they've got said book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think this guy is he's I think he's experienced things. He's written books about it. He's looking. I guess the line of credibility between somebody that sees them and is writing about them, that gap is narrowing. In other words, more people are having experiences, and then for somebody to write about it just doesn't seem all that surprising.
Well, it's a lot easier now
frankly.
to get a book out into the public. There are lots of different options that there weren't before, and there is an interest that the publishing field recognizes in this kind of material. So in some ways, it's easier to get the book through the hurdles.
The vanity people care less about the vanity press anymore. It's like, I just want my information out there.
Yeah,
I don't need a publisher gatekeeper to tell me whether this is worthy or not. Who cares?
The people who read this stuff want to buy the book,
they want
no matter
it,
what.
and I can get it out there. And a lot of times you see these books go out there with massive misspellings, but it's like, I don't care. I just want the information. There's a whole pin there for I know we're writers from, we have written.
Yeah, there are a lot more venues now too. Like there are all the different cryptid festivals that towns have, like the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant.
You should say that.
So people go to those festivals. They go to the Monster Con convention.
Yes.
And they set up a table and they're able to sell their self-published books to the audience that wants it. So
Yeah, funny you should mention that. And the next line says, "Hey, we all need resources, right? We all need resources." So now it comes as no surprise to anyone that our Albatwitch cryptid friends are a dream come true for local businesses of all flavors.
The devil,
who can
you
blame
say?
them? Yeah,
or in this case, the devil monkey.
The devil monkey
pin,
but the devil's apple.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Good one.
Okay. Come back.
The 10th annual Albatwitch Day was just held this October 11th, 2025 in Wrightsville, Pennsylvania at Riverfront Park from 11 to 5 p.m.
Amazing.
It was like I'm shilling for them, but I'm just giving you information, folks.
If only we knew sooner and could have gotten this out there for them like we did with Krampus.
I found this information closer to the event than we even are now.
Okay.
So you might imagine it featured artisans, food trucks, and lecturers on the topic. Sounds like a good time. Be outside in the fall and and getting
come back
to
with
know
some
people.
Bags of apples and some apple cider. And maybe some apple donuts.
Yes, and then we can throw them at people. No, maybe not. Then we just eat them.
Yeah, I'd prefer
to eat them.
Maybe I'll throw the apple cores.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it too. People can go up to the rock. Now here I added a quick cultural touchstone because I almost never do anything or think this way, but as a gamer, and I got this off of the when I was looking through the information for the website for the Albatwitch Day and everything. I love the Fallout series of games, and I noticed some commenters on the Albatwitch Facebook page mentioned that in the dystopian future of the game, cryptids run wild along the other antagonists in the Fallout 76 game version. The day was a chance to meet up with fellow gamers during a cryptid event, as they say, as these commenters said, and a cultural touchstone if ever I heard one. Cryptids living on in the futuristic simulacrum of a video game.
Isn't Fallout 76 set on the East Coast? Like I thought part of it was part of the map covered West Virginia, and it is Mothman and the
Yeah, you're searching for your cryptid.
Oh gosh, yeah, the green one. As it's
out
there,
the
Flatwoods monster.
Oh,
Flatwoods monster.
Okay.
Yeah, which we need to come back to because we brought up Flatty in the DC UFO Flap episode at the very end.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it is, and that version 76 is a controversial one. But we don't want to get into that.
No,
maybe
we don't
we
need
could start
to
a
get into
gaming podcast or something. I don't know.
Why not?
Now, more of our skeptical listeners may say, I don't know, maybe John, maybe you would say, Albatwitch was invented by the local Columbia Chamber of Commerce.
But I know they didn't. So
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
I am not going to say
Okay,
such
good.
slanderous
And
things.
you won't be the Debbie Downer
I will
on this
not be
episode.
the Debbie
Thank
Downer
goodness.
on this
I'm
episode.
happy to hear that. Because
Okay.
let's just have fun with this. Because frankly, people are seeing it. Now, but would they be correct? And where does this legend come from? Are we expected to accept that not only Sasquatch lurking the sparse woods nearby, but also 4-foot versions as well? Well, like Sasquatch, we can look to stories from the indigenous who were very familiar with the Albatwitch. Evidence of these mischievous beings have been found in local Native American culture. Susquehannock Indians used their image on their war implements such as shields. The Algonquin also told of small hairy creatures which they called Magumawisus. And I probably
Butchered that?
Did you
You
see
didn't
that?
practice it?
No, I didn't. I didn't know we were doing this today. Magumawisus.
Okay.
Close enough.
It's
And
close.
please, if it's someone tell us how to do
We're
that.
trying. That was a sincere attempt.
It was.
Okay.
So this has been happening a long time, and this is fitting with the lore. Now that we've established some bona fides for this group of cryptids, right?
Did we?
Well, yes.
Okay. Sure.
The cryptid said, yeah, we've been seeing this for years. You guys are just catching up. So what the heck is going on? So I chose a direction to look at briefly. Now I'm going to start with a quote. I'll read it because it's not really dramatic or anything.
Okay.
Geologically, the Susquehanna River is one of the oldest major river systems in the world. If it isn't the oldest, it is definitely in the top 5. It dates back to the Paleozoic area. That's 543 to 248 million years ago. There is evidence that the flow of the ancient Susquehanna was established early enough to predate the Appalachian Mountains formation over 300 million years ago. So this river has been there.
That's ancient.
For forever.
Yeah.
A long time.
Okay.
And this is going to be really interesting. Stay tuned. The area is specifically lined with massive quartz deposits. Pin. Now, I'm making a direct reference to the Missing 411 episode where individuals go inexplicably missing, and I know that's contentious, but let me just say it, where individuals go inexplicably missing, and in a larger sense, in certain geographical, dare I say, geologically distinct areas of quartz and granite bedrock. Living things seem to phase in and out of our reality in these areas. Not to mention one of Pleiades' clusters is smack dab in the south central PA part of the state. Now, I did a tiny bit of looking for cases, but I ran up against the clock, and I promised John I would keep my stories to under 2,000 words. The Kabbalion was over 6,500 words.
We don't talk about that.
Huh?
We don't talk about that.
No.
You take your stories.
Our scripts are getting longer again, though. That's good.
They are, and you take your stories where they need to go.
Okay, I agree. Now, complete speculation, but this is where insights come from. Making correlations and testing for causation. We'll also add that I did my one application of the Pleiades criteria against these stories. I noted the water, which is the river itself, the boulders such as Chickies Rock, and not to mention the entire rock strata upon which this river flows is everything you need for these purportedly for these events to take place. Now, the Susquehanna Greenway is home to a surprising number of ghosts and legends, many cryptids, with strange and varied sightings all along the quartz-lined river. Now, it is beyond our scope to talk about the varied critters, but needless to say, we're going to return to some in this area again, and I have, and you have no idea how interesting this place is. And finally, as a teaser on this topic, I will simply say that there are petroglyphs on the rocks along the river, and there are very big fish in this river.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Now, can we maybe pause there for a second before you go on to your personal story?
Yes. Yeah. That's a good. We've got plenty of time, and we can talk about lots of things. And I'll also ask you to scroll down and look at that one Ghouls and Legends image I put in there. I'll
Yeah,
put
yeah,
in
yeah.
the...
So the some things that I just kind of want to tie back to.
Yeah.
Because I didn't
Yeah,
want
I
to throw you off your
dropped-
story.
that's
I mean,
all right, I
I
get
felt
it.
like
I'm
I
done
did that a
with the
little bit
story.
already. But, you know, what's interesting about the Albatwitch to me is the size. A more skeptical person might point out that these could be escaped circus monkeys. I know it seems ridiculous, and also I note that none of the descriptions, either what you've given or what I looked up on my own, indicate any kind of tail. So
Yeah,
they're not monkeys.
I can't say that I did or did not come. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it
They
didn't come up.
They don't seem to be monkeys, although they do seem to be exhibiting some very monkey-like behavior in some ways. And I did sort of teasingly bring up the devil monkey, which is another cryptid, which is a little bit outside the scope, but I'm again seeing some similarities, although they tend to be a little bit more vicious. So devil monkeys do not seem to have a particular area so much as an attitude and size, but they are more monkey-like. They're not ape-like because they do have tails. They tend to be vicious. They tend to be mischievous. They tend to just show up and start harassing people.
And where are you seeing these?
They're in the literature, but they're all over the country. That's the interesting thing.
Okay, that you said they were far-ranging. Okay,
Yeah.
Interesting.
I picked this up because
That's interesting.
I made the connection because I was trying to do some research on Lauren Coleman's theory about places named with the name Devil in it for Devil's Den, for Gettysburg. So I had his book in my hand not long after watching the Albatwitch material online. And he's got devil monkeys in the book.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, oh, there is a connection here because they're smaller. They're not the 8 foot tall Sasquatch. They are 3 to 4 foot tall simians.
Yeah.
And they also will take food and they'll throw things at people, and the behaviors are just very similar.
That's interesting.
Although these seem far more adorable than the devil monkeys.
Apparently, they're more human-like. They're well, and they there's just a couple of things that I wasn't sure we were doing this one today. The other thing that's important to note is that this is not as a fully blown out. I added my story just because I thought, oh well, I can quickly do it. But this was going to be complementary to another episode we had, and I forget now which one. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the fact that the Susquehanna has other cryptid encounters along it, because I actually I found some very interesting things in Pennsylvania that we will swing back to.
Yeah, there's a lot. There is so much. I mean, we're talking age. I mean, we're talking millions of years, and not a few million. We're 543 million years ago. I mean, so this ancient river system has been there a long time, and I don't want to dig in here. It's not in the scope of this episode. But one thing I'll point out is, and I'm looking at this image, Ghouls and Legends of the Susquehanna Greenway.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too.
Some of these names, like Swamp Angel, Water Witch, the Gewoggle, Susquehanna Seal, the Susquehanna Mystery Thing, the Squonk. I mean, so one of my memories is that one of these looks like a plesiosaur, like your...
Not the Squonk.
One of them does.
Believe it or not, the squonk is actually rising in popularity in cryptid circles right now because it's it's just a miserable looking animal that looks
like an Eeyore.
It looks like it's. I think one of the best descriptions is it's like a large fat pug that has been just left in the bath too long, like of all the wrinkles.
Yeah,
they're already wrinkled to begin with, and they've got even more. And it cries because it knows it's ugly. And because of that, it's so pathetic.
And you feel bad for it.
That people feel bad for it, and the squonk's becoming more popular. It's kind of got it's likely not a real thing so much as a Pennsylvania tall tale.
Oh, is it?
To
Okay.
entertain.
Yeah, interesting.
But,
But you notice it's along the river.
Yeah, I won't swear nobody's seen it. A lot of people claim to see some of these things, even when they do seem like they're more folkloric and ridiculous.
Well, and this is what
people claim to see the
said,
Dwyer.
that we've said that there are people that will invent something, and then
also a possibility.
it becomes real because then people missee things, and that adds to the lore, and that concretes it. And then if someone goes and draws a picture, here's what the squonk looks like, and then now it has an image.
Yeah.
Right.
For people
and then
to congeal around. Yes.
That's right. And then we are not entirely certain that the universe is such that it takes our imaginations and plunks the thing into our living reality, which we have said before, chicken and egg, right? What came first, the idea, right, or the actual thing?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this just goes back to the mystery of this. But in a more real sense of, I think, things that people can wrap their minds around, in the same way that the Loch Ness Monster is described often as a plesiosaur, which is to say, is this a surviving species that has somehow managed to live through time and procreate in the depths or in the oceans, and then come in through these these secret tunnels into these undetected waterways that have connections between the open ocean and Loch Ness. But what I'm driving at is, if things are slipping through time, wink, wink, wouldn't they look like the species of yesteryear, like a plesiosaur? Is it any surprise that some of these look like things that we've seen in the fossil record? I'm just making observations. I'm not saying any of that is true. I'm just saying it's pretty interesting. So yeah, all right. So that. So we should definitely come back here, dig into these cryptids, to decide which one of these have, actual sightings behind them, and which one of these are just the creations of, chambers of, the Chamber of Commerce wanting to put a little festival together. I find it hard to believe that that's happening a lot. Anyway.
No, it is very definitely the other way around. There is, right. In many cases, you're talking about a single sighting type event that gets built up in time, mm-hmm. and story, and then the town is looking for an excuse to hold a fall festival, so they attach the local monster to it, and it's been very popular and a pretty good business model, actually. Yeah, they're not all the Mothman Festival, which has gone pretty much national at this point, right? But it's a people are always looking for an excuse to have a party.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. And it gives them an instant mascot, and they can sell merchandise, and that's fine. We all need resources, as you say. Yeah, we all need resources. And frankly, it brings people together. Yeah. But it brings them together to talk about these weird things. So as you see, I tried to bring in some of these images just to give you a sense. Like, I have this one representation of the stratigraphy of the rock layers and they're describing the deeps, as they call it, which is a part of the Susquehanna where the water gets really, really deep, and these massive fish grow. So I'm probably going to put some of these links just so you can go see, or just do some searches on the Susquehanna River, petroglyphs, big fish, because we're going to cover some of that. I think it's really fascinating. The other thing is just more historical. Are you familiar with an eel weir? That's Weirs. These are rock structures built into the rivers where the indigenous were building these backward chevrons, and they would capture the fish. Right, then I am familiar with these. Yeah. And those are fascinating as well. I'd like to dig in on those, just because I think historically those look like interesting. It looks interesting. History of the indigenous in the area. Quick break, folks. We'll be right back. So let's move on to my personal story. Now, what's the connection here? Well, the obvious connection is southern Pennsylvania. That's where my experience happened. The other is, and I don't
No, and I was unsuccessful in my first attempt at some looking for information that I once heard on a podcast, probably 2 years ago at this point, where there are books available, and I'm going to tell you this in case you run across it.
Okay.
These are Sasquatch researchers. They are from southern Pennsylvania, and they made particular mention of Sasquatch being coincident with red orbs.
Okay.
There is not a lot that comes up on that I could find, and again, I did a little bit of searching, and I didn't need to make the connection with a lot of research, but that's something that I plan to dig in on a little bit more.
And you don't remember?
I just need to go back to the podcast
But there were two of them?
try and there was two guys, and these were Sasquatch researchers that covered southern Pennsylvania, specifically around York.
Okay, and they were more. I'm sorry, because I'm wondering if this is where the footprints end.
Possibly, yeah. If you
Okay, 'cause
grab that, send that
there
over.
are like three. No, there's at least two books from this. It was
What are the guys?
Joshua Cutchin and Timothy Renner.
That sounds about right. That's
And
good.
They had,
Thank you.
yeah, and their thing was definitely tying Sasquatch to anything high strangeness.
Yeah,
So
well, that's what it had
if-
been. The orbs are almost always UAPs or something.
Yeah.
And I would argue that, well, there's also the idea that UAP are often are also environmentally generated, also through seismic activity. Believe it or not, there are earthquake lights that are theorized that when before a large earthquake happens, that there are both sound anomalies and there are light anomalies that are represented as ball lightning and in some cases red orbs.
Yeah, those are observed and they're recorded in the scientific record, but there's no way to repeat them or cause them without an earthquake. So it's an unknown process.
Yes. And so that's a very much a physical science question. That's an open one. But the connection to Sasquatch in the cryptids is the ELF, the extra low frequency sounds, both that the earthquakes would generate while the rocks are straining against one another. The sound waves and the vibrations caused a low frequency, which generates these orbs potentially. But then there's also the speculation and supposition that Sasquatch also operates at a very low frequency and is used to cause the Oz effect, which we should get into at some point, and stuns its prey. And we're going to get into that. So let's get into the story. So in the summer of 2011, I visited a friend who lives in southern Pennsylvania, just over the Maryland line between Styx and New Freedom. Let's just call her Anna. Haven't spoken with her for a long time, but I wouldn't want her to put her name out there. Now, what surprises me most about this story and the actual event, it was not a scary, violent event. It was not an ontological shock. It was disorienting in the moment, but oddly, it became less disorienting as time went on. And I wouldn't call it life-changing per se, but at least not immediately. I would say, frankly, it was rather mild. And as far as weird or profound paranormal stories go, right, other people's stories seem far worse. And I must say that I am torn onto whether I'm jealous of that or not, right? Imagine I've heard stories of people seeing a craft or Sasquatch and having their reality just flipped on its head. And it has potentially some very bad consequences if you don't want your world turned upside down. I wonder how I would react if I came face to face with an 8-foot creature that should not exist, but nonetheless stands before you and smells like wet dog or worse. Now, let's move into the story. I was visiting. It was the evening. It was summer. We went out to the edge of her property. If I recall, it's probably about 2 or 3 acres that she has, and it's in a low-lying area where a stream, water, a stream runs through it. And so we walked the grassy area out and we're sitting on chairs that she had next to the stream and looking back on the house. I would say the house was probably, let's just call it 60, 70 yards away. So we're discussing, and I'm going to try and do this because my memory of this event is rather scattered. It's odd, and that's part of the issue. So I do remember that we were talking about the house, and Anna said, there is a ghost in the house. The house was once the schoolroom for the local area, and that the school marm, or the teacher, or whatever you want to say, is the one that haunts there's a particular room in the house. It happens to be her bedroom, and the ghost haunts it. Now, the part of the house that we were looking upon is the bedroom that it was haunted, and it was the one closest to us. And in that moment, as we were having the discussion, I realized I had a mote in my eye or some disturbance in my eyelashes because I reached my hand up to wipe my eyes. There was something in my eye, but then I realized it wasn't in my eye, but it was actually an red orb. I'm saying red. It was actually orangish. It was probably the size of a volleyball, as far as I could tell. And it was moving up and down in a semi-slow pattern. It wasn't vibrating quickly. It was just almost bouncing up and down on the house and over the room that she was discussing. And I say that because we were talking about a paranormal topic of a ghost, and here I was seeing an anomaly that was moving over the house, moving up and down. Now, that's it. I mean, that's it. That's the memory. I think the remarkable thing was, I just kept thinking there's something in my eye, and that I tried to wipe it away. And that is the effect of when you see something you don't feel like you should be seeing, your brain is trying to explain it.
Right.
Your brain is trying to say, you've got something in your eye. What else could it be? It can't be an orange glowing ball bouncing on the house. You understand?
Yeah.
And this happens a lot with UAP sightings. People think, oh, I'm seeing that. They'll invent something to explain it away because they realize potentially maybe internally that they're seeing something that they shouldn't. So that was my experience. I found it interesting that it was coincident with the ghost story. But the funny thing was, you may be saying, okay, well, what happened next? Well, I don't remember.
Okay.
We did not go look. We didn't suddenly stand up and run over to the house to look behind it because the red orb it moved up and down slowly on the house, and then it bounced and it went behind the house, and then it was gone. But we didn't jump up and go look. We didn't have a discussion that I remember about it. Like, did you see that? I saw it. Did you see that? What the hell was that? What the hell are we looking at? None of that.
It became a non-topic.
It became very much a non-topic.
Okay.
And that is something that I want to clue on because that is often an effect that we see in UAP.
Yes.
Where observers...
Sometimes it's referred to as paranormal apathy.
Yes. Where they will avoid the topic.
Yes. Yeah, it's a choice.
It's almost like one camp of psychologists might say that it's your body and your mind. Your mind is protecting you from the unknown, mechanism. And it's saying, hey, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. I don't have to deal with it in my mind. Now, that may have been what was happening, and I would say at that time, was my mind as open as it is now? I don't remember, but I did find it interesting. Now, I don't recall also whether I was experiencing, or Anna and I were experiencing the Oz effect, which is to say that we were maybe, it would have felt like being in a bubble, right, where no sound was getting through, and there's this odd, surreal feeling of unreality. We're going to get into the Oz effect in a future episode, but I did not feel that. I do not remember how the evening ended. I don't have a memory of, okay, and then we went inside and had dinner. I don't remember that we went in and watched a movie.
Are you saying this does or does not strike you as unusual?
It strikes me as highly unusual, okay. But in retrospect, the more I thought about it,
Okay.
the more I realized, like, this is exceedingly strange, because I knew in my mind that that was really strange, but I also I remember not reacting in hindsight.
So
Does that make sense?
it does. I want to tease out some other
Yeah,
things from
please
you.
do. Please help me express this, because
sure.
there's
Well,
it became strange in hindsight.
It's interesting. The couple of times we have discussed this,
Mm-hmm.
you have always related it to a cryptid. You
Right.
You said, oh, well, the first time you told me this, you said, well, this is a feature of some Sasquatch stories. You've brought that up again. You're putting this into the Albatwitch episode, partly because they
Just
both
strictly
occur-
the location.
Location.
Well, that's not entirely true.
You're in the course of telling the story, you said your friend was telling you about a ghost. You're not matching this to the ghost. You've also brought up UAPs, but you seem to be distancing this experience from UAPs. Your experience is the orb. You've never said anything about seeing a cryptid. So I'm curious about
right.
the association you have and what you think that means.
The association is the book.
Okay.
Which was something I heard on a podcast. These guys were investigators, and I remember them talking to the guys in the podcast episode, and they said, hey, I understand you guys have been seeing a lot of these red orbs in southern Pennsylvania, south of York, which is right smack dab of where we're talking. And they said, yes, we're doing a lot of research, and we're associating it with Sasquatch. Now, I am just carrying forward that association.
Okay.
But here's the thing, right? Whether it's Sasquatch or whether it's UAP or whether it's a good old ghost story, I don't have any memory of anything. I did not see a cryptid. I did not see a ship. I do not think I was, as far as I know, abducted. I don't think she was, as far as I know. I have not reached out to her. I do actually plan to try and reach out to her and see what her memory was. But let me just lay one more detail down, because I want you to tease out anything that you have questions about. I held on to this story for 14 years. Mm-hmm. And when I thought about it, I could have very easily said, hey, John, let me tell you about this. The first two people I told were my brothers, Mark and Matt. And that was like a year ago when I decided to share it with them. And it was even tough to tell them. And I don't think they would shame me, far from it. Far from it. As a matter of fact, they're like, oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, they're interested
they're
in this
totally
stuff.
in it. Yeah, these guys are with me.
They're some of our best listeners.
They really are.
Audience.
And I love
Hi,
my brothers.
both of you.
Right? And they're like on my team. And but even telling, and it wasn't like it was a very hard burden to unburden myself with. And this goes back to that apathy you mentioned, and this plays a lot into other stories I've heard of paranormal experiences where people, like driving in cars,
Right.
they'll encounter something on the road, and they'll see something, have an incredible experience, but then when it's all over and they're left in the car, they drive home, potentially, minutes in the car, nothing said, they don't talk about it.
Strike me as odd at all in this context of the reactions.
Yeah.
The types of stories that come up that you held it onto it.
Yeah.
You held onto it personally for a long time, and then you were able to share it with people who you knew were open to the story, to the experience.
Yeah.
That's common. And it's part of both the apathy, part of the Oz effect, depending on how you define these things too.
Right.
It's part of the defense mechanism, as you started to call it there.
Well, if you believe that, right? If you believe it's strictly a psychological effect of self-defense, I'm not entirely opposed to that idea.
There's another way to read it.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The other way to read it would be if it's easier to bring up in a UAP UFO context.
Yeah.
That it's not like your mind is defending against it. It's part of the.
Go ahead.
It's part of the screening memory that is put into the abductee the victim.
Yes.
There's a way to read it that way.
Even I was not going to mention that it is a design of the experience that at the tail end of it, you are impelled to hold on to it and not share it.
I like the way you're putting that, because I'm putting it in the alien abduction context. It would be
it makes sense.
Have done something to you,
right?
But there may be, in a larger context of paranormal, if this is all one phenomenon in a sense,
right?
You could read it as that it is something that you have been compelled to do by the outside force, whatever it might be, rather than a choice or a psychological defense mechanism. Although these things could be intertwined.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to rule out the psychological, because I think there is.
Notice I'm sounding less skeptical as I talk about this, because
I appreciate that, because if you started nailing me with debunking, it'd be like, all right, that's over.
No. Plus,
well, just shut up now.
Plus, the only way to contextualize these things is to meet the people where they're at and try to figure out where these things. Figure out how to explain this in a way that is acceptable to the experiencer, and you certainly don't want to be debunking the whole way through that. So just so our listeners are clear, gee, John, where did you go?
I like this John a lot better, because John is open to this. Well, and if after saying that you said to me, okay, Mike, well, was there any reflective surfaces on the roof? Was the radiator painted? You need reflective, to go through. You know what I'm saying? And I would have said no. I appreciate you looking for all the results, because
there's
I
also
did the
no
same
way.
Thing.
There's also no way to do that now. We'd have to go back and investigate the area 15 years ago, whatever it was.
Right.
Which we cannot do outside of a time slip or a time traveling DeLorean, or more to the point,
right.
The blue police box TARDIS, because we'll get to why that has to be soon enough too.
All good.
We cannot do that.
Right.
Yeah. So it would be senseless for me to try to pepper you with, well, maybe there was a reflective surface. Maybe the light was shining. The Mars was shining off of your windshield that was parked next to yours.
Right.
You can't know those things. So it's better to examine the experience, I think, and in a way that is working with the experiencer to tease out what's going on. And the other more important thing is to find out what it meant to the experiencer, you in this case, so that you can bring that forward. That's why I'm asking questions about why are you associating this more with cryptids than UAPs? Why are you associating with cryptids rather than the ghosts that your friend was telling you about?
Right. Well, I found that.
What does all this mean to you?
I honestly would say that I have not. I would tell you, my instinct tells me that I haven't completely processed it.
Right.
Now, I can guarantee you
this is part of that process.
There is somebody in this, in our listening audience, that would say, you need to get regressed.
Sure.
You need to bring forward those memories if you can. I don't know if I'm regressible or not. I don't know if I'm, you can be hypnotized or mesmerized or whatever. I don't know that. I know people that can't. But I may do that at some point or anything. But the question would be, to your point, what experience was this? You're making one association, and I'm only doing it because I had made that connection a couple of years ago. The researchers in southern Pennsylvania attributing red orbs to, that move through the forest are precipitating or preceding, Sasquatch sightings. And that's their research. Now, I'd like to look into that. I have to dig into this one video I found. And again, I would have done more on this had I known we were going to record this. But that's okay. We're getting through this.
That's fine.
But this could be an evolving story.
Yeah.
Again, I will tell you, I did not see a ship. I didn't see a cryptid. I saw a strange orb. It was quite visible. There was no obstructions between me and that and it. My initial reaction was that I had something in my eye, and that was very much like I was insistent with myself that there is something in your eye. And I will tell you, it was unnerving in that moment, in hindsight, that there's nothing in my eye. What the hell are you seeing, Mike?
Yeah, this isn't an orb like somebody took a photograph and you've got orbs captured in the photograph, which is often very easily explainable by film or digital camera defects or processing artifacts.
It is dark. When we were observing this, the light was glowing orange, reddish orange, right? Very reddish orange, and it was like I don't know how I'm moving my hand up and down. I can't show you through audio how it was moving, but it wasn't.
But it's not. This is also not something you're observing up in the sky, flying.
No,
so much as it is down ground level. So you're not looking up and seeing Mars.
I am not.
I'm trying to help the skeptics out here by saying, by eliminating.
No, I get you. Yeah.
You are not describing. Oh, it's Mars.
No, in fact.
Okay.
But on the background of the houses was a tree line.
Right.
Like directly behind the house was the woods that were along the road. Now, of course, the skeptics may say maybe you're seeing headlights from the road.
Yeah.
I've never seen orange headlights.
No.
On a road. And again, this was also not a heavily trafficked area. This is out in the sticks. I mean, the name of the town is Sticks, probably for that very reason.
It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's near New Freedom. So anyway, and not to mention, there's so many other strange things that seem to happen in southern Pennsylvania that this just seems like, oh, you had an experience too. And I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to build this into more than what it is. I'm just telling you that it was more of the hindsight thinking about it made it stranger and stranger in that it was, why would I hold on to it for so long? Why was it so hard to divulge, even in trusted company? And then in the moment, why are my memories of that time period around it so fuzzy? I mean, we can forget things that are unremarkable.
Right.
But it's odd that, leading up to and after that, something very remarkable, I don't have a lot of memory of it. As a matter of fact, really no memory. So there you go, folks. What do you think of my story? It's strange. I hope if anybody's had a similar experience, or maybe folks that are from southern Pennsylvania, let us know what you think. John, is there any other areas you want to add to? We do have a little bit more time, but not terribly much more.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I brought up the devil monkey connection to the Albatwitch, and I made the observation that the Albatwitch is so much more adorable than the devil monkey. Yeah. The other thing that could be brought up, you mentioned how these figures are in the local native lore. There are small size furry forest people are a feature of indigenous stories up and down the East Coast. So that kind of tracks as well. They have a bunch of different names.
Yeah.
My favorite being the Pukwudgie, but they are Massachusetts, and I brought them up before, but they're Massachusetts.
Well, they're all going to have their own names for them. Yeah. Call them different things.
The Wampanoag called them the Pukwudgie, and of course that's but it's just a cute name. They are not as adorable as the Albatwitch, because they look for causing mischief in ways that's a little bit more harassing than just throwing apple cores at people. But it tracks, that something like that is out there. So.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. We've got a couple of pins here. Certainly the Susquehanna River and the basin. I mean, this old river. I mean, it's just the river that keeps giving. There are several.
It goes all the way up to New York.
It does.
It comes out of Otsego Lake at Cooperstown.
You mentioned that. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, and we were when we were up there 2 years ago. I don't remember. I lose track of time, especially with 24 and 25 being so wacky. It feels like the last decade in the past few years. But when we drove out of Cooperstown to come home, we would cross over the Susquehanna up and down for I would probably, if we did it once, we did it a dozen times, to tell you the truth. Yeah. So it rolls right down and empties out into the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we saw it as a little stream coming out of Otsego Lake, and we saw it as a mighty, half-mile wide river outside of Harrisburg. It's crazy. It's a long river. So to hear some of your history about it being so old, it's kind of surprising to me in some ways, and in other ways not at all.
Yeah.
I just had no idea about the time scale.
Yeah.
Powerful, beautiful river that goes all the way up the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm intrigued by the petroglyphs. I'm intrigued by the very big fish. And again, I say that as somebody that's trying to figure all this out, right? And if people are seeing things along the river, maybe they're seeing these big fish, right? And and again, I'm just throwing it out there because I want to do my part to not, But I can hold all these ideas in my mind. I think one more connection I'd like to make, and the piece of research that I haven't done yet, it's just a matter of stopping on the way through, or maybe you can when you go through. Go to that the trolley trail just after the Bloody Bucket, but before the boardwalk on the trolley trail.
You want me to go take a look at the striations on the rock?
Well,
something?
there's a geological there's a placard there that explains what it is, and I think it is as old. Well, I mean, we're all in the same neighborhood. It's as old as the Susquehanna, if not older. This conjunction of rock. And of course, Ellicott City is right there. And we just got done an episode that talks about just how bloody haunted
I do need
Ellicott City is. So
I do need to go up and take a look around there and walk around Ellicott City itself some more. I haven't done that in a while.
Well, we should do that. We should just go out and we could go together and take a picture of that.
Maybe we should plan to go Christmas shopping.
Yeah. That's right.
That would be a good excuse.
Yeah, we can
to do both. No, you can't come with me, Julie. Mike and I are Christmas shopping.
Shopping for you, and we just listened to the Krampus episode, and we're all in the spirit now. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. This was fun. I'm glad we did this, and I'm glad this came out in sort of the extemporaneous fashion that it did, because I think it needed the discussion. I appreciate you, John, teasing out more details and questioning me about it, because it helps me process it and think about it. And again, you can see it's not really that big a deal, but on another level, it is.
Yeah,
it's my little touch. And I have to say, and I often fantasize like, man, I'd love to see some of these things. But on the other hand, would you believe me? He's a podcaster on a paranormal paranormal podcaster, and then turns around and says, I saw Sasquatch. He was throwing shit at me from my backyard. Because I'm living in Sykesville.
There are a number of podcasts out there where the podcasters themselves actually... They almost go to the point where they describe, we got into podcasting in order to experience this. And
really?
And we have. Yeah, because
because
there is the theory that gets thrown out there that
you invite it in?
Once you start examining the phenomena, you're inviting it to examine you.
Okay. All right. I buy that.
So,
or on the other hand, maybe I was fated to do this because this was the nudge I needed to keep investigating.
I will, when we get off air, I'll give you at least one example of an episode you should listen to see how one of the podcasters went from 0 to 60 in the space of a single visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now he's an interesting one.
Well, I wonder. If I do see something, chances are you may not even hear about it. I don't have to think about it.
Depends.
Because I don't want to. I don't want to.
Depends how we see it. I mean, I'm a skeptic, and I've got stories we haven't told yet.
That's true. I mean, you have one that's probably more remarkable than mine, in my estimation. And an interesting one. We're going to cover that one soon.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
These things come out in the right time and the right place.
Oh, they do. Well, I think today was the day, and I feel good about it.
Okay, good.
Sharing it. It was fun. And then the so cute little Albatwitch throwing
so
the
adorable.
apple cores. Yeah.
It's they.
Yeah. And then pinning all the little connections to our previous episodes, like Missing 411. The water features and the boulders.
Some threads together at this point in the season. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it sure does. All right, gang. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week, and we'll have a new weird topic to share with you. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.